Hello everyone and welcome back to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at the domain and range, learning about domain and range. Just a reminder, this is the speedrun version where we go pretty quickly. If you want the normal lesson version, I will link that in the description below. All right, your 30-second recap starts now. Here's what you have to know before you start this lesson. Firstly, you should know how to graph points on a coordinate plane. So you should be able to find the point 2, 3, put a point there. Secondly, you should know about compound inequalities. So you should be able to read, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and you should be able to, open circle, closed circle, okay? These two concepts, graphing and compound inequalities, you need to know them for this lesson. If you don't know them, I will link refresher videos in the description below. Please go watch those before you attempt this lesson. All right, new lesson starts now. Here we go. So domain and range. Let's start with domain. Domain is always talking about x values, always. And it's talking about left or right, okay? Left and right. And that should make sense because, the x-axis goes left and right. So let's plot our points here. This point is -8, 9, and this point is 4, 6. And now let's look at the x values only, right? Because we're talking about the domain. So that's -8 and 4. So -8 and 4. We're going to put our x in the middle. And now let's start from the -8. When you look at this -8, does the graph go to the left or to the right? Well, it goes to the right, okay? And so when you go to the right on the x-axis, these numbers get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the way we say this is x has to be greater than -8. Right? Because the numbers are getting bigger in that direction. Now, let's look at the 4. Starting from the 4, do I go to the left or the right? Well, I'm going to the left now. And so when I go to the left, these numbers get smaller, right? 4, 2, 0, -2. Those numbers are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so x has to be less than 4. And now let's also pay attention to this is an open circle. This is a closed circle, so this one has to have the line underneath it. Now you could reverse this. It's a bit more uncommon, but technically true. If you reverse everything, that's not reversing everything. Here we go. Then it would look like this, right? Still the same meaning, just looks a little different. Now for the range, should come as no surprise that we're talking about the y values now. Y values. And so the y-axis goes up and down, so we're going to be looking up and down. So let's start with the 9. Okay, so we know we're going to have 9 and we're going to have 6. We're going to have y in the middle. From the 9, are we going up or down? So from this 9 line, does this graph go up or down? Well, this graph goes down. Right? And so as we go down on the y-axis, our numbers get smaller, so y has to be less than 9. And then from the 6 on this graph, are we going up or down? Well, this graph goes up, right? So we would say y has to be greater than 6, and it's greater than or equal to, because it's a closed circle, and it's an open circle on the left. Again, if we wanted to rewrite it, then it would look like this. Y is greater than or equal to 6, but y is less than 9. Now for this graph, you'll notice that one of the sides has an arrow. So let's plot our point. That would be -4, 8. And so for the x values, so we start at -4 for the x values, and then does this graph go left or right? Well, it goes to the right. And so as we go to the right, our numbers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So x has to be greater than -4. And for the range, y, starting from the 8, do we go up or down? Well, we're going in a downwards direction. And so y has to be less than 8, right? Because those numbers are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. All right, for a horizontal line, again, let's make sure we know our 1 point. That would be 7, -2. And then on a horizontal line, let's just pick another point here just to be sure. This is 3, -2, and one more point. This is -5, -2. So you'll notice -2, -2, -2, right? Our y values are always -2. So for the range here, we say that y equals -2. And for the domain, we start from our number. That would be 7. And are we going to the left or the right? Well, we're going left, so our numbers are getting smaller. So x has to be smaller than 7. All right, here's our cool clock for today, which means that it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had time to work these problems, let's check your solutions. Okay, for the first problem, you should have gotten that x has to be greater than or equal to -7, but less than or equal to 5. Make sure you put the lines underneath because those are closed circles. And for the range, we got y equals 2. And for the second problem, a little bit tricky here because they don't give us any points. It's just, arrows on the left and right side. So let's come back a second. Domain talks about how far left does this graph go? Well, it keeps going left and it keeps going right. And so it just keeps going to infinity, to infinity, to infinity, left and right. And so the way we say that is for the domain, we would say all real numbers. And then the range is the same exact thing because this graph keeps going down and it keeps going up. And so to infinity, so it's all real numbers. All right, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.